everyone, my name is Nadia of Delle Dining here in Atlanta. Today I have partnered up with Farhang Foundation for their flavor series to teach you how to make a Persian cardamom roulette. The recipe will be available online, a step-by-step process, but we just wanted to give you a visual representation of what it looks like. So this is kind of what we're going to be starting with. All you really need are 7 eggs, less than a cup of sugar, equal parts flour that we've sifted to get rid of all the lumps, and a little bit of vanilla. Also, I put in my cardamom powder inside of the flour, mixed it up with a fork so it's nice and incorporated. So that's kind of the basic. We're making just a really plain and simple sponge cake here. We're just going to use a stand mixer. This is necessary. You can also use one of those handheld ones. But we're gonna go ahead and put in our 7 large eggs right in. And you wanna always make sure that you bake with room temperature eggs. It helps everything rise more evenly and everything cook more evenly. So eggs in, and we're gonna go in with just shy of a cup of regular old sugar, and I'm gonna lock this guy in and get the speed going for 2 minutes on medium with my timer. 2 minutes is up, so I'm gonna go in with a teaspoon of vanilla extract. You could also use vanilla paste, it's a little bit more concentrated. Straight in, and then we're gonna hit this on high turbo all the way up to speed 10 for 4 straight minutes, and we're basically whipping a ton of air into it. What you're looking for should be lighter in color, a little bit thicker, and about 4 times in volume. Okay, so it's been about 6 minutes in total. Again, that was 4 minutes on super high speed. As you can tell, we're really pale in the color, and it's a lot thicker and almost quadruple in volume. And again, this was just sugar and eggs, so super fluffy, really spongy cake. So now I'm gonna go in with less than a cup of the cardamom and the flour mixture, and I sifted it so ever so gently. Pour it in a little bit at a time, and you're just looking to incorporate things right now. You don't really want to knock any of that air out that we worked so hard to develop. Cool. So right when you can still see a little bit of like streakiness in the flour, but I'm gonna cut it there and show you a technique that you can use so you don't deflate any of the air. So grab your rubber spatula, and this is called folding. So we're first gonna scrape down the sides, and then we're gonna go all the way down to the bottom, turn the bowl and fold over itself, and you see all that flour that just came up, that was sitting at the bottom, right? So we wanna incorporate that into the batter mixture without, again, deflating any of the air that we worked to get. So maybe like 4 or 5 turns until you see everything is nice and homogeneous. There's no streaky flour bits. Okay, so we're looking good. And what I have here is a buttered and lined 13 by 18 baking tray. Just put a little bit of butter, parchment paper so nothing sticks. And in kind of one full swoop, I'm just gonna pour it. And you can see, I mean, it's so airy, really nice and fluffy. That's going to create a really lovely spongy texture. So straight into the pan. This is called an offset spatula. You can see there's a little divot right here. So you have really nice leverage to kind of spread things out. So ever so lightly, we're just going to kind of let the batter do its work, right? You don't want to push too hard because see all those air bubbles? Again, worked super hard to get those when we whipped air into that egg and sugar mixture. So we're just gonna kind of push it along, let it kind of find its place, and make sure it's nice and smooth. And if you have like little pockets of flour like that, you see here, it's totally fine. You just wanna make sure for the most part, everything is nice and incorporated. So we're gonna throw this into a 375 Fahrenheit oven for anywhere between 12 to 14 minutes. What you want to look for is a nice golden brown top, and when you touch it, it should ever so slightly spring back. That's when you know it's done. It's going to be a little sticky, but it will fully be cooked through. So while the cake is baking, we're going to make the cream filling. This is pretty straightforward. You can kind of get creative with it, but this is kind of my baseline recipe. So we're going in with a little bit of heavy cream. And without adding anything, we're just going to go on medium speed and start whipping it. Cool, so it's been about 2 minutes here. I'm gonna add a little bit of powdered sugar instead of regular sugar. Powdered sugar has cornstarch in it, so cornstarch is a natural thickening agent, so that's gonna help the cream whip a lot quicker. So I'm gonna go in with about 4 tablespoons. This is totally up to you. If you like it super sweet, add more. If you like it less sweet, add less. But if you can already tell, it's getting nice and thick, but I'm gonna keep whipping air into it. I'm gonna go in with some vanilla extract. And I'm choosing to put rose water. I think that's most traditional. You can certainly put orange blossom. You can put cut up strawberries inside. You can put pistachio inside. This is, again, a super basic approach. So I'm probably gonna whip this for another 3 or 4 minutes until I have stiff peaks. I'll show you what that looks like and we'll start filling. So that's kind of what we're looking for right here. A stiff peak essentially means when you kind of invert it, nothing falls off the whisk, whisk, is what we're looking for. You want to do that because we're stuffing the cake, we're icing the cake with whipped cream, which tends to be a little bit softer. So you want to whip it a little bit more than you think, just so it has structure. If you were to continue doing this for another 3 minutes, it would turn into butter, so you kind of want to find that fine line. So the cake is about a minute shy of coming out of the oven. So what I have here is a clean kitchen towel and some sugar. I'm just gonna take a few pinches and sprinkle it atop. What this does is creates a nice barrier, so when we flip the cake onto it, it doesn't stick to the towel, and we can really gently train roll it, which I will teach you next. So it's been about, again, 12 to 14 minutes depending on your oven at 375. I've taken the cake out. As you can tell here, we have good brown, good coloring, and the sides are ever so gently kind of pulling away. Again, it's gonna look sticky, it's gonna feel a little bit sticky, but if you touch it, it should spring back, if you can see right there. So that's when we know we're done. What I'm gonna do is take my trusty offset spatula and just pull away from the sides as such. Again, we buttered this and we put parchment paper, so it should come off super, super easy. Now we're going to invert it onto the sugared towel that I told you about. And what I like to do is take the back of this utensil, kind of tap it to make sure it falls. And remember, this pan is super, super hot, so take another towel and it should lift right off. Beautiful. And all we have to do is pull this parchment paper off, and if you buttered it correctly and everything went according to plan, it should pull pretty clean. You might have a little bit of, stickage right there, but really nice bake right there. You can still see those air bubbles. That's how you know it's gonna be super tender and very spongy. So now we're gonna teach you what train rolling means. Essentially, when the cake is hot, you want to acclimate it to the shape that you're gonna form the cake into. So it's kind of like muscle training with athletes. So what I like to do is turn it this way, and with the towel, start tucking it and make a little log. So we're not tucking the towel inside, we're just using it to kind of guide. And you don't really need to push too hard, it's really supple. And then I like to just tuck the whole towel like such, and then take a cooling rack so there's a little bit of air circulation, pop it right on, and let this rest at room temperature for 30 minutes till it cools down. So now it comes time to unrolling the cake. Again, remember we train rolled it, so now it's gonna unroll really beautifully and roll back up without any trouble at all. So, all right, and it's cooled. We let it cool for 30 minutes. So if you were to put cold whipped cream on hot cake, everything would melt away. It would be a hot mess. So you want to make sure everything's cooled. Your whipped cream is nice and cold as well. So what I like to do is add a few big spoons right in the center. I like mine personally filled with a lot of cream, but again, if you want to go a little bit lighter, you totally can adapt to your preference. So again, using that offset spatula, we're going to start ever so carefully spreading this just as we would like cream cheese or butter, anything like that, all across from edge to edge. You kind of want to get a good base layer, and then if you want to add more cream, you can certainly do so. Okay, so we're nice and smooth here. It's a nice even layer, and what we're going to do now is start re-rolling it back up, which I like to do. It's kind of turn it vertical here so you have a little bit more leverage. And again, the sponge cake is trained so it's not going to crack. So I'm going to start tucking and kind of pressing so it holds against the cream. And then just continue that until you reach the end. And you can kind of like squish it a little bit so you can get an even log. But if anything cracks like this, it's totally okay because we're going to cover the whole thing in cream. So I put some more whipped cream on the top and I'm using my offset spatula. You could also use a butter knife if you don't have this to just kind of smooth it. You can use a piping bag, make really nice designs. I kind of like it rustic looking, especially because we're going to cover it with some more ingredients. So I'm gonna call it there. What I have here is some chopped up pistachios that I just kind of like give a little generous dusting. And to finish, I really think strawberries and cream, it's kind of like a classic pairing. So what I like to do is kind of go down the spine of the cake with just a few thinly cut strawberries. And that should do it. So this feeds anywhere between 10 to 12 people. Keep it in the fridge. Obviously there's a bunch of cream. Again, you can get the recipe on the Farhang website. And if you guys are interested in more cooking videos, tips and tricks with baking and savory stuff, follow me at Delle Dining.